In today's video, we're going to continue on with our series of season recap and off-season plans. We have 3 special guests joining us, and we're discussing the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, today we're talking with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have 3 special guests joining me today to complete the 17-18 season recap and to look ahead to the offseason and take a quick peek at the prospect pool for the Maple Leafs as well. I'm going to start here with a quick recap of some of the main stats for the Maple Leafs for the past season, and then I'm going to hand it over to the sports girl who's going to give you a little bit more in-depth analysis of the past season. Now, as we all know, the Maple Leafs had a fantastic year, record-breaking season, finished with a record of 49-26-7 for 105 points, placing 3rd in the Atlantic Division. Unfortunately, had a first-round playoff loss versus the Boston Bruins. They finished with a plus 45 goal differential, scoring 277 goals, which was tied for 2nd in the NHL. So these guys can score, and they can score in high volumes. They also finished with 232 goals against, which put them at 11th place in the NHL, which really isn't too shabby either. Their goaltending was a big part of that. Frederik Andersen had a tremendous year for the Maple Leafs. Now let's take a quick peek at their special teams. Their power play was phenomenal, clicking at a 25% rate throughout the year, which put them number 2 in the NHL. Their penalty kill finished with an 81.4% rate, which put them at 11th overall in the league as well. So very solid special team numbers, and they did pretty well on faceoffs as well, winning at a 51.8% rate, putting them in 6th place in the NHL. So overall, this team had a very good 5-on-5 play. They had very solid special teams, and we saw a lot of great seasons from a lot of guys wearing the blue and white uniforms this year. We didn't see a whole lot of change with this roster throughout the season. Obviously, later into the year, they traded away Nikita Soshnikov to St. Louis. They also picked up Tomas Plekanec at the trade deadline. Otherwise, we saw the same roster throughout the year. Now, since the season has come to an end, we've seen many changes already within the front office situation. Obviously, they moved Lou Lamoriello out from the general manager role into a senior advisory position. They then hired Kyle Dubas to be the new general manager. And since then, Mark Hunter has resigned from the Leafs, and Lou Lamoriello has bolted to run the team in the New York Islanders. So, obviously, lots of shakeup in there as well. So, we'll see how that affects the team moving forward. Now I'm going to hand it over to the sports girl to complete the season recap for the Maple Leafs 17-18 season.
Hi everyone, it's the sports girl. I just want to say a thank you to Top Shelf Hockey for putting this whole collab together. This is going to be super fun, I can already tell. So like I've said before, I consider this year to be a good solid year for the Leafs. I've gotten mixed complaints about the year in my comment section, but overall I'm happy with it. Here are my top 3 reasons why I think the Leafs had such a good year this year. So number 1, and in my opinion the most important thing, was experience. Well, hello there, it's me, Father Time. I've come to gift you with experience. Okay, that was dumb, but whatever you want to call it, the experience or the time they spent playing, they've learned things that I think has helped them have a better year because they're not, I don't want to say dumb, but like not as naive as the year before. It doesn't hurt to have young guys who have played more games or seen more minutes in the playoffs. They have another year of experience to just solidify their roles in the team, to play as a core group, like just to get to know each other and strengthen their own personal bonds with each other. I really think that is something that you cannot pay for, and that just the only thing you can do is just wait because it takes time. Number 2 is depth. Our depth was and is the most important factor with the Leafs right now. In case you don't know, the Leafs farm team, the Toronto Marlies, are playing for the Calder Cup right now. If they win, it'd be the first time in the history of the Toronto Marlies, but that's not all. Like I was saying, our depth is insane in the membrane, excluding maybe a few defensemen. We have wingers coming out of our butts. At the very least, it's nice to have the peace of mind that if you're a top forward for the Leafs, that if you get injured, your season's not over. Like the team's season's not over. If you're down and out, it's okay because a Finnish beauty like Kasperi Kapanen is going to just swoop in and like be insanely good. And number 3 on the list of why I think the Leafs did so well this year was obviously our stellar goaltending. Frederik frickin' Andersen was amazing this season, actually every season. He's been amazing every season for us. In my opinion, he stole the show this year with 38 wins, and that's not even the best part. The best part is that if he was having an off night, which he rarely did, Curtis McElhinney could just step in and win it. If we're going off of players or some situation like that, I honestly think that the 2017-2018 season was the goalie season. They take the cake for me, but what's a Leaf season without a few negatives? You know, I've been doing this thing a while where after the season you really just have it stuck in your head and you can't stop thinking about it. This year it was a good thing. Previous years, not so good. So now what can we nitpick and tweak so that next season we can get past the first round? Well, I have my top 3 things that I didn't think went well this year and that we will need to improve on. Our goaltending. No, I'm kidding. Our blue line is the first thing that comes to mind. Now, I'm not going to single any one guy out. Zaitsev! Sorry, allergies. But because there were a lot of guys that had like record years, I do think that it was the bad guys, almost had to sneeze again, who really brought the team down. Like I've said a million times before, and I will say it again, our defensive core is not working. And again, I'm not looking for some blockbuster trade that we have to spend millions on a guy just to get him to play a few more minutes. I'm saying, move a few people around, bring a few people up. But whatever you do, please do not keep this core the same. Luckily for us, it looks like a few Marlies might be able to make their debut next season, so hope is not lost. I don't know about you, but I really do believe that the playoffs exposes your weakest links. And through a lot of heartache, we've found that our defense is our weakest link. But next to that, and I'm sure you've noticed in the playoffs, and I'm sure in regular season games, is we don't have a lot of strength. You saw Babcock tried to throw Polak in there and Martin in there to add a little bit of like grit. But first off, I don't think they're gritty enough. And second off, I really do think that the Leafs could benefit from having more of that. But it's hard. You don't want a guy who can't skate and can't score, just put him like in a placeholder there. We're too good of a team for that. I wish that the young guys could just like start kickboxing or something just to build that up, because when I was watching the playoffs, I was so afraid for Marner to get I didn't want him to get hurt. I just didn't want him to get hurt. So we need a guy who can protect them, but also do other stuff. I really didn't think that we had enough of that in the playoffs, and playing the Bruins like we did, it was very evident. So we need to add some muscle, but not at the expense of skill, which is like a really tall order, and I don't know. So my number 3 for things that didn't go well this year with the Leafs is actually my number 1 for things that did go well. But unfortunately, you can't throw money at this problem, and that is we need more experience. While I'm happy that we got the 2 years of experience with the group that we really want to have, it's still only 2 years. You're playing against guys like the Bruins, for instance, who have played for like years and years in the league. That's not something that you can rush or force. It's just something you have to wait out. Experience is, in all honesty, well, except for our defense, all we really need. And it'll come. Experience, in my opinion, is the most important thing. And just to play with the guys, the same group of guys all the time, it'll happen, we'll get there, but that's what we need. Because of our goaltending situation, and by situation, I mean I don't even have to think about it because it's taken care of, that means all we have to really do is make our defense at least mediocre. Like, we have a stellar goaltender. All you need is a decent defense. The Marlies have a lot of promising prospects, and I really don't think we have to look far to upgrade our defense. So that's my bit. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to see what everyone else has to say.
Great job and very entertaining as well. Her channel is going to be linked down below in the description. I highly recommend you go check her out and consider subscribing. Now we're going to pass it over to Andrew Pillick Hockey, who's going to take a look at what to expect from the Leafs during this 2018 offseason.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Andrew Pillick. I run a YouTube channel called Andrew Pillick Hockey. Thank you to Top Shelf Hockey for allowing me to be a part of this video. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about my favorite team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, don't you worry, I don't just talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs on my channel. I talk about all NHL teams. So if you'd like to subscribe, please do so. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. We talk about all teams, so it's a lot of fun. But right now, we're talking about the possibilities for the Toronto Maple Leafs off-season. Going into next year, it's going to be a lot of fun. The Leafs are a team that are looking to contend for the Stanley Cup, and it all starts with their UFAs. This has been such a huge topic going into this offseason. James Van Riemsdyk, Tyler Bozak, and Leo Komarov, who have all been with the team for a bit of time, in that order. Bozak has been with the team the longest, then Van Riemsdyk, then Komarov. These guys are the big names. These are the big 3 for the Leafs going into this offseason. Now, here's the thing, Leaf fans, I'm not sure how many of them you want back, but I don't think any of them are coming back, to be honest with you. I do not think the Leafs have the budget to keep all 3 of these guys around. First of all, James Van Riemsdyk is a guy who can score a ton. He's kind of one-dimensional if you look at it. He does score quite a bit. It's usually out front of the net, though. He's not the fastest guy. He doesn't defend really well. He's actually quite bad defensively. So teams are probably going to pay him for his goal scoring, but I don't think the Leafs really can afford to keep him around. They might not be willing to pay what Van Riemsdyk is going to be getting in the open market, and that's no diss to Van Riemsdyk. That's actually good for him. He's going to get paid. The Leafs just don't have the money to keep him around. With the salary cap going up, this guy could be getting like $7 million a year for 7 years. So I don't think the Leafs are really wanting to invest that much into James Van Riemsdyk. And again, that's not a knock against him. He's a great hockey player. He's going to be great with any team. The Devils probably will be a good option for him. But again, we'll get into that probably in other videos, other topics, maybe even another collab between me and Top Shelf Hockey. But James Van Riemsdyk is a great player. It's going to be sad to see him go. Next is Leo Komarov. The guy is really good defensively, and he's had some good offensive seasons with the Leafs, but nothing too crazy. He is very replaceable. They have guys from the Marlies that can come up. People are discussing a guy like Grundstrom who could come up. Altonen is a guy that's going to fit in there somewhere. Of course, they play different positions, but you know, there's other guys that can slide into the lineup, and there's other penalty killers on this Leafs team, and that's what Komarov was mostly useful for in the last season, even though he wasn't the best. But Kapanen and Hyman are guys that can kill penalties, Connor Brown. So there's already guys that are taking over his spots already, and I don't think Dubas really wants to keep him. Now, Mike Babcock does really like Leo Komarov, but I think that they just have to let him go because he might be commanding 2 or 3 years, and I don't even think the Leafs want to give him that much. I don't even know if they want to give him a 1-year deal. So I think Komarov is going to be gone as well. Then you've got a guy like Tyler Bozak, who is a very effective centerman. He wins a lot of faceoffs. But again, the defensive problems a little bit. He's been with the team for so long. I really like him, but he could be commanding a little bit too many, like maybe too many years. I don't think he's going to get paid a lot. I feel like the Leafs should at least offer him a 1-year deal to keep him around for that last cup run. I think he would be an effective role player for the 3rd or 4th line. And, you know, Bozak is a pretty decent point producer. He isn't crazy out of this world great, but he could be valuable to keep around for $2 to $3 million, but he could probably get more from other teams because there has been interest. Another name is a restricted free agent, William Nylander. What kind of money is he going to get? A lot of people are comparing him to Pastrnak, but he should probably be getting a little bit less than that. And I believe Pastrnak was at 6.6, but with the salary cap going up, people are saying Nylander could be fetching close to $7 million per season. I don't know if that's going to be possible, and I don't know if the Leafs will want to pay that much, but with the salary cap going up, it is a huge possibility that he could be getting paid close to $7 million. He does put up a lot of points, he's a young player, and he is very, very good. So we'll have to look at that storyline going into this offseason. Will Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews sign their extensions? Obviously, their deals aren't up till the following summer. Matthews is going to command a lot of money, and if news just broke, like this just happened when you're seeing this probably yesterday, but Austin Matthews switched agencies. He is now with Connor McDavid's agency. I believe it's an agency. Again, I'm not, textbook in all these trade and signing stuff like that. I don't know the intel, but I believe he just switched agencies. So he could be commanding quite a bit of money, and rightfully so. He is a good player. Could he get close to $10 million? Maybe 10.5? I don't know. What's Mitch Marner going to get? Is he going to get like $9 million? We're going to have to see. But with all of this happening, I think the Leafs are still going to be able to control keeping their 3 big guys in Nylander, Matthews, and Marner. Those contracts, the Matthews and Marner one, will probably not be signed till the following summer, in my opinion. Nylander will obviously get done because it has to be. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this video. I had a lot of fun. I love the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I love talking hockey. Thank you again. I'll see you guys later.
Good job, Andrew. Once again, Andrew Pillick Hockey's link is down below in the description. If you haven't already, go check him out and consider subscribing. Now we're going to pass it over to producer guy Phil. His channel is called Arcade Regiment. He's going to be discussing the Toronto Maple Leafs AHL affiliate, the Toronto Marlies, and a large group of prospects that could possibly move up from the Marlies to the Maple Leafs next season.
How's it going, you beauties? My name is producer guy Phil, and I was invited by Top Shelf Hockey to talk about the Maple Leafs, but more importantly, to talk about something that maybe not a lot of Leaf fans focus on as much, but you know what? If you're a Leaf fan, you need to start focusing on them more, and that is the Toronto Marlies. Now, if you're a Leaf fan, you know you're definitely familiar with the Marlies. They're your affiliate team, for gosh sakes, in the AHL. And you also know that a lot of stud players from this year's team have come from them. This year, the Toronto Marlies went on an absolute tear. They were the best team in the American Hockey League. They had the most points out of any team in the American Hockey League, and there's a couple huge factors to their success this year. Now, one of the big factors of their success has been their depth. Now, they have one of the best top lines in all of the American Hockey League right now, and even in the playoffs, and that is Carl Grundstrom, who actually just came back from Sweden not too long before the season ended, Miro Aaltonen, and Andreas Janssen, who even got a shot with the big club and had 3 points in 9 games, which, you know what, that's still pretty darn impressive. Now, apart from those big three, this was also a team that had Kasperi Kapanen for half the year as well, and they are so deep that they just said, you know what, you don't even have to come with us for the Calder Cup run. We're going to get you a ring, go on vacation, have some fun, you've earned it, you've enjoyed yourself, just go do something else. But this is also a team that has solid depth. This has been their biggest asset throughout the entire season and throughout the entire Calder Cup playoffs so far. Another thing to focus on as well is that the Marlies are also pretty depth defensively as well. You have Timothy Liljegren, who is just going to blossom to hopefully a wonderful defensive prospect. And then there's also players like Travis Dermott, Andrew Nielsen, Justin Hall, who apparently just can't stop scoring in the NHL. They are basically a balanced defensive core. They also have one of the best goaltending tandems in the entire American Hockey League. Calvin Pickler, who was actually acquired for Tobias Lindbergh, and a fifth, which Vegas, stop, George McPhee, thank you, but buddy, you could have gotten a little bit more. And Calvin Pickard, who is actually the best goalie in the American Hockey League and even won a trophy for it. Good for you, Garrett. I am really, really proud of you, my friend. But you take that whole entire offensive core, the defensive core, and the goaltending, you got yourself a powerhouse in the American Hockey League. Now, looking forward to the future, the Marlies have basically a lot of decisions to make coming up. You see, because I have a feeling a lot of those players they had this year are going to get promoted to the big club, which is kind of why they went out and even signed players like Par Lindholm to deals as well for the Leafs. He's probably going to stay in the AHL, but it's really kind of funny because if you're to ask me right now, PGP, who are some players making the Leafs next year on the Marlies? Well, let me tell you straight up, I do not see Kasperi Kapanen coming back to the AHL. He is too good for the league, and he has proved it, and he's just a weapon for the Leafs on the penalty kill. And you know what? Even as like a fourth liner, how do you match him against Kasperi Kapanen on the fourth line? You just don't. You don't do it, and you don't win. Andreas Janssen, I can't see him coming back. I'd say there's an 80% chance of him making it, maybe even 85. He's definitely going to be on the big club. Travis Dermott as well. I could see him on the big club, although I wouldn't be shocked if he gets sent back down. However, I can see him making the big club as well. Now, the interesting thing here is that the Leafs have a whole bunch of contracts coming up. However, that leaves a couple bit of space open on the Leafs main roster. I can't see 2 out of those 3 names coming back. The only one I can really see is Tyler Bozak, maybe on like a cheap deal if he accepts, but if he's a free agent, he'll probably get his money. But there's been kind of talk, and I know Steve Dangle touched on it. What if you just take the Marlies' fourth, like their best line, and make them the Leafs' fourth line, sorry. And you know what? That's not a bad idea, because the Marlies' top line of Aaltonen, Grundstrom, and Janssen, that is like a dangerous little fourth line there, because they have proved they can score in bunches. As of my last recording, I think that line has a combined over like 39 points, almost 40 points for the entire Calder Cup between the 3 of them. So they can be an absolute force on that fourth line, but I kind of like what each player brings. Carl Grundstrom is an absolute tank. Now, he doesn't look like it, but you know what? He has just that right body frame to just absolutely go into corners and just truck. He works hard. He's a hard worker. You know, he's a good guy. He's a hard worker, but he just has this tenacity, this aggressiveness about him that I just love. Andreas Janssen obviously has a scoring touch. He's got great scoring prowess, and I think he would be absolutely filthy on that basically Leafs fourth line. But Miro Aaltonen is kind of an interesting one. He came over from Finland, and it's kind of interesting because he almost made the Leafs out of camp this year. He's going to be an interesting one to watch as well. Now, the big question I've always been thinking about is who is going to be the backup next year for the Leafs. People are like, oh, it's going to be Curtis McElhinney. He's signed. But it's like, can you really keep Garrett Sparks down here in the minors again? I mean, you're going to have to send him through waivers. And I don't know if he's going to clear again, man. I do not know if he's going to clear. He has, like, a tremendous save percentage in the American Hockey League. It would almost just be a waste of his time to let him stay down there again. And this guy wants to play hockey. He wants to play hockey at an NHL level. So, honestly, like, I think Garrett Sparks is going to stay, man. I think he's going to be the backup. Now, hear me out. you can try and move Macklin. He's on a very friendly team contract, and I think he had like what, a 920 something save percentage with like 2 or 3 shutouts this year, making only $700K. That's a contract you can move, man. So I expect Garrett Sparks, honestly, to be the backup goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs in this upcoming season. Those are some of my thoughts on the Toronto Marlies. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again to Top Chef Hockey for inviting me. Give me the chance to chat some Marlies. I always love talking some Toronto Marlies. I'm Producer Guy Phil. You can find me on the channel Arcade Regiment. I do NHL videos. I do like team building through EA Sports, like NHL 18. I do like videos like that. So if you like kind of fantasy teams, movie teams, and just basically any kind of concept team you can think of, I do it on there. So thank you, Top Shelf. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys stay classy.
Great job, Phil. Thanks very much for coming on. I just want to take a second here before we go and just want to thank again the Sports Girl, Andrew Pillick Hockey, Producer Guy Phil, also known as Arcade Regiment, for all coming on and being part of this big Maple Leafs collaboration. And again, you want to check out all of their channels, consider subscribing. I promise you won't be disappointed. Make sure you leave some comments down below. Let us know what you thought of this collaboration video. We'd certainly appreciate your feedback. And we also want to know, what do you think the Maple Leafs are going to be doing this offseason? What kind of moves do they need to make to take their game up to the next level to truly contend for the Stanley Cup? If you're new to our channel here, I hope you consider subscribing as well. We cover all 31 NHL teams. There's plenty of hockey content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.